Hey everybody, Iridium Cushions here first, bright and early. Tim Logator, Silver Bullets, anyone else? Not quite yet. How is everyone doing? Not very prepared. We don't need to worry about perfection. We just need to make sure we sort some things out. Now, let's see. We'll get some tunes. What am I doing? Share screen. Find a little number here, get this started, and then we'll begin. So, a little intro. Right, hopefully that played all right. When I review a playback, the audio quality doesn't seem to be very good. It sounds like the track is like lower quality or at a distance, or so I don't know if that's the same for those of you listening and watching. Now let's get rid of that, and then gonna find a little background image to mess around with. This one. Yeah, I was unfortunately, it's lame. Well, it's not quite the one I wanted. I was tempted to use the exploding head from Running Man. But I thought, that might not go down too well, and the image was kind of small. Never mind, Celebi. We will use this. I want to illustrate the idea of running free, or running like a lunatic into the sunset, or something like that. A break for freedom, or what? This discussion, this topic of departure, seems to be. Well, I noticed 2 videos. I'm not saying it's going to be a exodus, but it's something that's come up before in the past. I'm sure we've all heard people sort of saying, "F this man, I'm out of here. Screw you guys," or something like that, or like I'm off on my own journey. I am gonna go true MGTOW by leaving MGTOW, that kind of sort of stuff. And then they don't actually go. They're still here. Or they have to tell everyone about it. It's like, why don't you just go in silence if that's the case? Like a big announcement, everyone. I'm leaving. Oh, by the way, yeah, don't be sad news, everyone. I'm not leaving. It's not me that's departing. I'll probably, I'll get into it a bit later on maybe, but I'm probably going to be here for indefinitely, because as a whole I see it as a process of self-reflecting, and self-reflection is something that never really comes to an end until the self comes to an end, I suppose. So it'll be a continual endeavor, but this is going to end up bringing up things like, we're going to have themes in this conversation of intention, motivation, desire. What is it people want from coming to such spaces? We might touch on things like the tenets, or what is the philosophy behind MGTOW, or the current understanding, or perhaps misinterpretation, because we will also touch upon the often other common debate, which is, how do you define a MGTOW, or how do you define what a man is, or something like that, or what do you define a red pill? And that always causes headaches and grief. And I'm not going to give you a definitive. I mean, I'll give you my perspective of what I think my opinion is, but it creates a environment of multiple interpretations. So no wonder there will be confusion, disarray, and battling of the minds, and strife and conflict as a result, of people are beating each other with their definitions and missing what I think is the whole point, really, the backbone of the philosophy. Bullets is here. MGTOW Outlaw, good to see you guys. Now, let's see if I can keep on top of. Oh, Billy, get rid of that banner. There we go. Got to be a bit more professional. Now let's see if I can keep on top of the comments. Oh, where's my mouse cursor gone? All right. Where were we in the comments? I think around here. So are we about here? Still coming to terms with Japan beating Germany and Spain? Are you talking about the World Cup? I don't really follow football. Oh yeah, it sounds like football. Okay. So reflecting on something I do every day, and yes, one should. I feel, not going to say you have to, but it has an addictive quality. It's good. It doesn't mean you have to constantly, every second of your life. You do have these like respite periods. I mean, self-reflecting in a way. Let's go back to Iridium's point. I mean, this is a huge topic, as we all should already know anyway. But the whole point well, not the whole point, but one of the main things about self-reflecting is the balance and check of checking in on yourself and making sure everything is being dealt with, worked upon, addressed, acknowledged, and things like that. If you don't do the self-reflecting, and you end up with a lack of sense of self, fundamentally, you're just Mirandaing around like a pretty much like a zombie. And for some people, self-reflecting is a very daunting task because of the horror show that they have to confront. So there's an element of being comfortable with the ickiness that resides within you and accepting it in its entirety, because you, us, we, them, it, whatever, pronoun, whatever, we're not perfection. Now, people might say we are made in God's image as a perfected whatever, but come on now, this is the narcissism and the self-grandizing seeping in, and that's why I will say things like being enough is perfectly okay. Do you like what I did there? That clever sort of play on words, because we all have this little wow. A lot of people, I'll say, have this perfectionist mindset. I mean, I have it too. So I have to remind myself to be a bit easy with the perfectionism. It's okay to not be so polished and pristine. And in part that comes through that self-reflection. Otherwise you're living in a distorted, you're having a distorted view of yourself, which is a biased view. You know, you're choosing not to see the things that you don't want to see, and as a result, no wonder you will think that you're holier than thou, or you're perfect, or that you're an angel, that there's nothing wrong with you, because you don't want to acknowledge that there might actually be something that's wrong. I mean, it's understandable. It could be very scary, very off-putting, because then it's like there are things out of reach of your control. If there are things that you dislike but cannot address or rectify. So the self-reflection, with all the other benefits of it taking place, can create a bit of humility and make you more humble, and ultimately make you more human. And in part, which is what self is about realizing that you are human, you are flawed. That doesn't mean you are condemned to a life of whatever. It just means you have acceptance, and you're able to integrate that and encompass all of these different aspects, and move on. And it makes you a more rounded person, more balanced. And that's the key as well to life, balance. So things that are 100% goody two shoe, yummy, yummy, whatever, is just as bad as the evil, toxic, whatever people describe. That's why virtue signaling is very toxic. And in some ways, you could actually say it's worse, because at least with someone who is a meanie, they're kind of honest about it. You know, they're not really hiding anything. But someone who's virtuous wants to hide their dark side under a veil of kindness. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Bullets. Yes. I think you're going to find this one interesting. We're going to discuss the many, hopefully, I mean, I want you guys to help, if possible, help contribute a little bit, because literally my script, as it were, I was only writing it maybe 2 hours ago. So it's in very note form, and it's not very long. So I was just, the thoughts were just flying in my head quicker than I could actually type. And then I decided to have a very long shower. So I was like, it's already like nearly 1 a.m, and here I am deciding, like, oh damn it, I better stream this before I put it on the back burner and never address it. So before we actually go into the topic, a few off-topic things I like to quickly bring up. Previously on Billy the Goat, I can't even remember what the stream was called, but I got a comment from PJ Camel, who asked a legit question. She says it's a legit. I presume PJ Camel's a she. A legit question. Now, whether it's legit or not, I don't know. But it was something about like, what's my opinion on conspiracy theories? So if you're listening, PJ Camel, I will address this topic because it's a fair enough question. However, I am not. What's the word? Like if this is a setup to try and get me into trouble with conspiracy-minded people into a heated debate, then forget it. So I'll be addressing the conspiracy-minded type of folks at some point as a general subject, nothing personal about it. So any other shenanigans, PJ Camel, watch it. Now today I've had an exhausting day today. I'm feeling very rough, very sore. I had my shoulder appointment. For those who might not know, I have a frozen shoulder. I've forgotten the technical name for it. But if you got your humerus, your upper arm, that bone there, ball and socket with your shoulder blade. Well, in between that bone is a capsule, apparently. So it gives you a bit of like lubrication, and with my diabetes and my condition, one of the complications is kind of like it's a form of like arthritis. So my shoulder for a long time has been like more or less like bone grinding on bone. It's been painful, and the limited mobility has been like I can't reach around the back of me kind of thing very well. I can't put coats on. I can't put a backpack on very well. But finally, I mean, I had this problem in my right shoulder, and the procedure is they stick a needle into the joint and they inject steroids, an anti-inflammatory, and maybe some saline, I think. And bish bash bob, you're done, kind of thing. And when my right side was done, it was marvelous, much better. I still have limited range of motion, but in terms of the pain and agony and disrupted sleep, nerve pain, that's pretty much it. It's in a situation where I'm happy with anyway. Well, the left side kaputs on me, so I had to have the same procedure done on my left, and it was a slightly different procedure than the right side, or at least it was a different experience. Like with my right side, it felt as they were pumping me with the steroids in the joint, it felt like my arm was swelling and it was going to rupture. Not the case with my left. The doctor said that what you might feel is a sensation like your arm is being pulled out of its socket. I didn't really feel that. I mean, I felt the tightness. I felt things like my arm, like fluids are going in there, and the pressure is building up. But pain, I think you should put an anesthetic to begin with anyway. So it's kind of funny. They're like looking at me like, "Are you okay? You're right. We're not hurting you, are we?" And I'm like, "No, totally fine. Very, very comfortable. I mean, a flu vaccination is more painful." So it was a easy peasy experience on my end. And it was also funny because it's an ultrasound guided injection. So they got like an ultrasound on me as well. And it was a female doctor. She was, I mean, I'm guessing what it is that they're putting the needle into the capsule right in the joint, and they're trying to fill it up, sort of thing, with these drugs. And I could feel her hand shaking as she's trying to push the plunger of the syringe down. So it's not wanting to be injected into the body. And she says, yes, because the capsule is so tight that, it's like you're trying to inject something that's solid instead of, there's no space or softness for it to be absorbed. So she's having to wrestle to pump this cocktail into my shoulder. She says to me, like, when she's done, she's like, "Oh, well done for all of that." And I was like, "I think you're the one who deserves the well done. You had a workout." She was, we had a few chuckles. She put this orange, like, cleaning agent. I don't know if it's iodine or something like that. But I was like, "Oh, you're giving me a fake suntan." She said, "No, no, I'm making you look like Donald Trump." I was like, "Haha, touche." Now, if that wasn't already like the highlight of my day, the bus going to the hospital decided not to go all the way. So I had to like power walk because otherwise I'd be late for my appointment. Maybe a good mile and a half. I don't know how far can you walk in like 35 minutes, like power walking. Like, I mean, the front of my shins, you know, the ligaments going to my foot and the tops of my foot or whatever were beginning to like stiffen up from being exercised sporadically, like unannounced. So I was already like in a bit of a I warmed up and I was already sweating by the time I got to the hospital. But luckily I made it in time. And then unfortunately it meant also, I think they're cutting the bus route shorter, but it meant on the way home I had to also walk. At least I wasn't in a rush going home. So I've done a lot of walking. So my legs are aching. My shoulder is aching. And then after school was the winter fair. So a lot of excitement with the kids. So I'm gonna have a good sleep tonight, I think. So, and luckily it's the weekend coming up. Yeah, I mean, again, like the self-reflection comment sort of slips in. I wonder how much that is going to be pertinent to this topic. We'll see. Oh yeah, perfectionism. Yeah. Yeah. The victim part. Yeah, I do have a little part about the victimhood of wanting to go, not exile, but you know, to leave the manosphere. It's like, look at me, goodbye, like think of me while I leave, kind of thing. It's like, should I stay or should I go? RP Pope, good to see you. Yeah, I'm oppressed. Yeah, it's like the idea of MGTOW giving you freedom, but then at the same time, it's making me feel oppressed. It's like, well, maybe you got the wrong idea of why you're here in the first place then. And we're going to see this this hierarchical structure of who is above who, as opposed to a horizontal relationship where we are all brothers. So look how much, like, Tim is saying, like, you know, yo brother. So we're treating each other, and this is like a horizontal way of acknowledging one another. You're not my father, you're not my son, you are my brother. We are on the same level, right? So there's this superficial, unfortunately, because as we already are aware, a lot of the insidiousness likes to hide itself in decency. So even though, no, I'm not accusing you, Tim, but I'm just using you as an example because you popped up on my screen here with the word brother. But even though they might call one another a brother, really there might be a bit of condensation. What do you mean? Looking down upon someone, condescending. You know, it's like I might call you a brother, but I'm going to be a toxic parent to you instead. I'm going to treat you like my child. Am I flying through these a bit too quick? I'm trying to just make sure we catch up. An acupuncturist. Any good bullets? Does it help? I'm guessing so. If otherwise, you wouldn't be going to see them. Yeah, I do have neuropathy as a complication. I mean, I've been diabetic for like nearly 30 years, majority of my life. So there's no wonder I'm going to have complications. You know, like I'm an old dog in that sense. So neuropathy, my eyes have been lasered because of blood hemorrhaging in the blood vessels of the eyeball. It sounds kind of freaky. Um, my kidneys have a bit of damage, so I'm on Ramipril to protect those. I haven't really got a very good blood circulation, so cramps and like pins and needles is. I don't really do much exercise, if I'm honest. I need to improve that, and I need to drink more water instead of drinking tea all the time or coffee. Ooh, dislocated shoulder. Is that what's the character's name in Lethal Weapon by Mel Gibson? Is it Riggs? Martin Riggs? He gets his shoulder dislocated. He dislocates his shoulder to get out of the straitjacket, and then he has to like punch the toilet door to kind of like reset it. I don't know what that is. The meniscus. Oh, is it a tendon or something? Oh, the tennis. Did they tell you to hit it really hard with the Bible? Yeah, so I get ganglions in my hand. Oh, and I do have another complication. Oh, what the hell is it called? Where because the tissue is now thickening up, and I suppose like the joints, my joints are getting stiffer and my tendons are getting tighter or whatever. But in the palms of my hand, around the tendons there, the tissue is getting thicker. It's from beating the monkey too much. No, but it's pressing on the tendons. So they tell me that like if you know when you do a push up, your hands are flat on the ground. I can't do that. I have to do like knuckles on the ground if I was to do push ups. Um, so I can't really stretch. I mean, I can stretch out my fingers straight, but I can feel it feels tight in my hand. And they say that, you know, as you get older, you might notice some old people who have like hook fingers because they can't really straighten them out anymore. So you press on that tendon, it starts to make your fingers curl inwards. So that's something I'm not looking forward to when I get older. But apparently there's an operation that, you know, they cut your hand open and they basically remove some of that thickened tissue. So I suspect as I get older, I'll be having a lot more operations and procedures. I suppose as a tangent topic, we can have these. Would you, if they offered you a artificial body, a robo body, would you take it? Yes, yes. That actually brings up a good point there. I got a little article. I need to flesh it out some more. Where it's what's the title? I don't know how to title it, but it's it's like be careful of how much exposure you have with types of behaviors or types of people or whatever. Like, that thing they say. There's two things they say. One of them is you are the product or the amalgamation of like the 5 people you hang around the most. Now, I don't like that. I understand it, and I think there is some truth in it, but it doesn't mean I have to like it. I like to see people as individuals and not as a Frankenstein mess of the people they hang around with. And then there's the other sort of thing they say where it's like you need to be careful of the company you select because you might be affiliated or associated. You know, it reflects on your reputation, and that's. I mean, I understand why that might be the case. I don't like it, and I think it's a bit of an unfair judgment or whatever, because it's not really appreciate people for their individualism. You know, it's like you're a conglomerate of other people. Well, and then we're talking about a sense of self earlier on and self-reflecting. Well, that doesn't really tally up then. How is there a sense of self if you're a product of those around you? So I don't know. But that is a good point there because, and it's something that happens in the manosphere. Well, you see it in the narcissistic survivor community because they've grown up with abusive behaviors all around them, with narcissists around them, psychopaths and whatnot. Understandably and commonly, the victims and targets, the only way they can survive is if they start becoming narcissistic themselves. So, for instance, do not be disillusioned. I have often said that my avatar and my whole Billy the Goat thing, it stems from being the scapegoat in my family. Always blame, never doing anything right, never good enough, never getting the validation, being the black sheep of the family, and being isolated and triangulated and put in my place so that I will never tell the dirty family secrets and things like that. And I can carry the shame and all the negativity of the family, and this is a function of the scapegoat. Does this make the scapegoat a nice, cuddly, waddly, fuzzy animal? You know, oh, poor little goatee. No, it means the scapegoat has narcissistic traits. So, what does that mean about Billy the Goat? It means I mean, come on now. I hang around with a lot of narcissists. Why? I'm studying them and things like that. Am I going to pick up some of their mannerisms? Probably. I mean, you know, if I got poor boundaries, especially before. But then this leads into that point. I think Shinobi One asked this in a previous stream many moons ago. At what point is it a problem? Or at what point do you say, whoa, this is someone who is like a full-blown NPD. Stay away from them. Because if we're all honest, and if you don't want to be honest about this, then you yourself probably are more narcissistic than I. But we all have narcissistic traits. And don't tell me that you don't, because I know you do. Now, obviously, it's uncomfortable to acknowledge, but it's what you do with that information that makes the difference. So, I mean, how else do you think I know the narcissistic games? It's because I've read, I've learned, I've studied up on their playbook, you know. And in part, that makes me, you could argue, make me a bit more dangerous if I should so choose wish. If I got that right. Because should I turn on that, should I flip that psychopathic switch? You know, watch out. So don't piss me off. Basically what I'm saying. I'm a nice guy at heart, really. Everyone in this philosophy is my brother. Might have some disagreements, but that doesn't change much. See? Yeah, we don't have to all agree. Yeah, get some massages in. All right, I gotta fly through. I'm gonna try to catch up with these comments, so then we can kind of get to the meat, the vegan meat and veg of the topic. Do I take any supplements? I was in the habit of taking them before, but I've kind of tried to wean myself off it and tell myself instead of having supplements, maybe I should just have a better diet, and then I won't need the supplements. Because I'm a skinny guy, I don't really eat much, and that's in part one of the ways I keep my diabetes kind of stable. It's a bit of a cop out. It's not really a good way of trying to have stability with the diabetes, but the less things I'm introducing, then the less my sugars are fluctuating. So I try and keep my food, my diet to a minimum. Basically what I'm saying is I'm giving you excuses as to why I don't look after myself properly. What's going on? I don't know, Frank. You tell us. We're all here because of you. It's all your fault, Frank. We shall see. Yes, guilty by association. Thank you. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Oh, you hate that you treat everyone as individual. So you prefer the association. You prefer like yeah, it's an interesting one. I was told, you got that expression, you can't see the forest through the trees. Now, who is in here that's an INFJ? I know a couple of you guys. I think Kush, you're one, I think. Whoever else is an INFJ, Myers-Briggs, apparently, see if this is true. Does it ring true with you? So that expression, you can't see the forest through the trees, for the INFJ, it's the other way around. They cannot see the trees through the forest. What does that mean? It means you're kind of like a world observer and you find it hard to see individuals. And maybe that's why I like to try and see the individual, because I would otherwise struggle. So I don't want to attribute the individual to the forest. I want to have a bit of respect for the individual and be like, no, I realize you're an actual tree. You're not the forest itself. Oh shit, my shoulder is actually giving me a bit of problems. Ooh, just need to wiggle my arm around a little bit. Yeah, so I'm sure the mods are taking care of those spam bots. So thank you very much for that. All right, a couple more, and then I think we'll go into the topic. And maybe I'll just fly through these. So apologies, I won't be reading them out. Who was Scorpion? The thirst. It's not this. It's thirsty Scorpion, not celibate. Oh, the other way around. Yes. Okay. Oh well, thank you very much, Kush. Oh, yeah, empathy. Good thing. Oh, my shoulder again. Oh, did you just hear that click? In my notes, I haven't actually discussed anything about empathy, but maybe we can weave that in here. And perfect but strong. Angler's here. And actually, Angler, you help inspire this conversation. I'm very pleased with what you said in your stream. The other person who kind of inspired this was TNFS. He's apparently doing a stream with Sydney MGTOW and going over why Sydney departed or left or hiatus or whatever. And obviously that was this for that TNFS discussion. This is post event. So how long ago did Sydney leave? I don't know. I haven't watched the stream. It might actually be running right now, so I hope I'm not like taking any of his views. But and GM's here. Okay, great. And everyone else. Okay, great. Okay, let's get into the topic, because I don't know how long my shoulder's beginning to give me jip. So now, however you want to phrase it, this departure, and maybe it's a break, maybe it's a little vacation, maybe it's I'm going to go find myself, or maybe it's more of a tantrumy kind of like screw you guys, I'm gonna pout, and you lot are meanies, and I don't want to be associated with you people. And some of this stuff, there are clues in the words, and I mentioned there's a part of Angler's video that I wanted to cover, which is in a positive way, which is a good thing. So now, sometimes, right, maybe I should do a disclaimer. Sometimes I'm sure there are legit reasons why people might want to leave certain spaces. It might not necessarily be a manosphere or a MGTOW space. It could be pretty much any space. And there'll be pragmatic, legit reasons. Now, I'm of the philosophy, or I'm of the belief that really these spaces should be left at some point, because I will say that don't let MGTOW be your coffin. Don't forget to live your life. And in my opinion, such philosophies or lifestyles or insights, etc., are here to help facilitate you as a tool for you to be able to continue to move on with your life, to grieve what was before, to find acceptance and all that kind of good stuff, and for you to be able to enjoy the remaining years of your life till its full potential as much as possible. So in that sense, a good pragmatic, legit way of leaving the MGTOW will be as a result of maturity. Basically, you've come to a point of being patched. You've come into the clinic, the A&E clinic of broken and wounded men. You've been patched up. You've been put on your feet. You exercise your muscles and go forth. You leave the clinic. Now you might have to come back for an appointment, like with my shoulder, and I might have to go back in the future for my shoulder. But I'm not going to live at the hospital having a needle stuck in my arm indefinitely, because I'm so scared to use my arm again. So the idea, in the way I see these community spaces, same with narcissistic survivor community spaces, is that you're there. I mean, I left the way I've worded it on. I might have to bring up what I wrote on Angler video, because I tried to surmise. Hold up. Oh, this is gonna take a bit of clicking. But I tried to surmise what I felt the space was for. Let me see if I can try and just remember off the top of my head, or something like, look, it's important. It's a needed component. If we understand why MGTOW came about, Manosphere came about, it's out of necessity. There wasn't any support structure that was adequate to help lost individuals or hurting individuals to address their needs. And so this is why they kind of gravitate, and will continue to gravitate, because there's nothing really else that tries to help these people. So it's a place for one to get their bearing and for one to get healthier, but it is not a healthy place in of itself. And I think this is something which gets lost in translation with people, or they become heavily reliant on it for their self-esteem or sense of security. And this brings an air of, well, at what point are you ready to leave? Now, you see this happen in hospital wards, and sometimes see it happening in prisons, where it's like you are being discharged, you are being released, and the patient or the prisoner is like, no, I like it here, I want to stay, and they're like, get the hell out of here. So there's this fear component also, but this will be this fear component will be keeping people in such spaces prolonged more than necessary, and instead of it helping them or being healthy for them, it becomes unhealthy. Now they are not making any improvements, they are forming a reliance and dependency. I mean, come on, we codependency, for example, is pretty commonplace, particularly in the manosphere. Well, same with the narcissistic survivor community. You become codependent to your abusive spouse or partners or whoever it is you're hanging around with. And what has happened is, for those types of people, they have exchanged the codependency they had with their abuser and implanted the codependency within the community. So they made an exchange, a transaction, and obviously that means that they're there for the wrong reasons, the illegitimate members of the community, or at least they've come in with misguidance and they need to be put straight. They need to be told, like, come on, get off the milk bottle, get off the teat, and pick up a knife and fork. You can do it. Look, this is how you hold the knife, and this is how you chop it up, and wear a little napkin or whatever, wipe your mouth. So there's this, we got like so if leaving with maturity is a form of kind of like graduating, now you're an actualized man. Now you got independence. Now you can go live life how you truly want, not how you tell me you want to, but you can actually be the living example by effing off and doing it. What does that mean? It means that those that are within the clinic of the manosphere are, I don't want to be mean and say they're infantile, but we'll say that they are vulnerable. They're growing. They're fragile. They're delicate. They're not really. We might see, this is the thing. We might like to say, like, we're men in the manosphere, but we're sensitive men. We're soft men. We're learning men. We're still realizing, what does it mean to be a man? I mean, we have to tell each other these tenets and principles of philosophy, because why? Because we haven't done it ourselves. We haven't explored it ourselves and reached our own self-discovery as such. Fuck my shoulder. So you're being spoon-fed. And that's why I'm saying, like, it's kind of infantile, because you're hanging around. I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing. I mean, obviously, like, a baby needs to be spoon-fed because it doesn't know how to do it itself. And that's basically the humility I'm trying to say here with us guys, is we like to put on this brave bravado of, like, I'm a manly man, staunch, alpha, apex, whatever. But it's like, you don't hear many that say, I'm still learning. I'm still on soft foods. I'm still being spoon-fed, and it's okay, because like where I am in this space, it's a place for this to be. This is nursery. It's a clinic, and it's also nursery. So obviously I'm going to be a wounded infant while I'm here, but I don't plan to stay like that, and that's the thing. Anyway, what I'm describing, I guess, in a generalized way, is the more how I see the philosophy serves and functions its members. Let's see. Ooh. I'm trying to work out where we are in the comments. I'll take it from here, I suppose. Sydney took a long vacation, Billy brother. I'm starting to take them. Many people started to take them. Many people do. There's nothing wrong, and that's the point. Is you do need these breaks, It's like if you're on a hospital ward or even in a prison cell or whatever, they let you walk the campus. They let you get a bit of fresh air. You know, they don't keep you literally locked in solitude or bedbound because it'll do your nothing. So it's good to have. And when we talk about on the psychological level of particularly like narcissism, you know, you want to ward off the enmeshment where two identities become one. And the only way you can do that is if you have space. Even in healthy relationships, a man and a woman, husband, wife, if it's a healthy relationship, they would have time apart, and it would be good time to be with yourself. If they were always with each other in each other's face and company, there's something not healthy there. So that is periodically, everyone should be taking breaks from the MGTOW and the manosphere and whatever it is you're doing. You know, there is still a world that exists, and that's something that Angler was touching upon. And I think, if I'm fair to say, Angler, if you're still there listening, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was pleasantly surprised to discover the world still existed without MGTOW. He could take 2 weeks away and basically fuck all had changed. You know, it's like it's still there. It's there if I need it. I'm not too bothered by it. I don't feel like I'm missing it. I'm not scared to be alone without it or something like that. What am I going to do? You know, and I think for him, Angler, please correct me or put it in your own words kindly, sir. The pleasantly surprised. And in my notes, the way I wrote it is the stabilizer wheels on a bicycle. It's like a little kid doesn't want those wheels taken off. But I think Angler discovered is like, hey, I don't actually need these stabilizer wheels. I might be a bit wobbly on the bicycle, but I'm getting it. And I can do it. And that's why I think it's a positive video he's doing and inspiring, because that's the kind of thing I'd like to see with people where MGTOW is not above you as a man. You exist. There is far more to you than you give yourself credit for. And this is the problem when people start attaching their identity to such labels, these banners of virtue, is that they're underneath. They are power. They're being pulled along by the so-called philosophy, by the etiquettes and things like that. And that's dangerous, in my opinion, in my estimation. And this, in part, is why perhaps they're very adamant that, no, I'm going to define MGTOW and you're going to do it how I dictate it to you. It's because I live beneath it. And I don't subscribe to that. There are basically two labels I keep to myself, which are, as much as I might want to chop it up, there's nothing I could really do about it. One label, I'm a man. Second label, I'm a dad. Nothing's going to change that. Whether or not I'm a MGTOW, whether I'm a capitalist, a conservative, a liberalist, a socialist, or whatever, whether I suppose a third label that I can't ever change is I'm a diabetic. But these are rigid labels that there's nothing I can do. I can't be whimsical about it and be like, today I feel like I'm going to be a vegan. Tomorrow I feel like I'm going to be chemtrails, some other conspiracy theory ideas or whatever, or tomorrow I'm going to change my political view or whatnot, or I'm no longer going to call myself a MGTOW. I'm just going to say I'm going my own way, or I'm going to say I'm red pill instead, or I'm going to say I'm purple pill. I'm going to come up with my own definition. Oh no, I'm going to be a sigma, or I'm going to be an alpha. For me, it's like, fuck all that. It's basically just words. It's puppy talk. I prefer the things you can't escape from, and because that's what happens is once something happens where this person doesn't like, now they want to distance themselves from it. So they got that luxury. It's like, I'm only going to hang around while it suits me or while I can take advantage of it. And I'm not going to actually embrace the uncomfortability of what it could entail. And that to me shows someone who is abusing their community spaces, because these spaces aren't here to placate to your fifis and make you feel better. A lot of it is intentionally to make you uncomfortable and to help you grow as a result. It's the compassion element of it. We're not breaking you apart in order just to be mean and spiteful or something. It's so that once you can address these broken pieces, now you get the opportunity to rectify it. Now you can put it back together and fix it, and that is the rewarding part of such philosophies and spaces. So there are stages in a way, and the early stages will be the most painful ones. This is where we're going to break your bones before we can reset them. And in the later stages, this is where all your hard work starts to pay off, and you have a better you can look out on the landscape and you are more familiar with it. It's not looking out into a void of horror and unknown dangers. You actually know the terrain, and that's become a home. It's become your sense of stability. So when I hear such words from Angler, it pleases me. It makes me feel this guy he might be wobbly on his bicycle. Yeah, he might be still confused and navigating and trying to figure things out, but the intention, the desire to want to face the uncomfortableness and to acknowledge it, that is the one of the key components. The honesty, being honest, speaking from the heart, not trying to be aloof or disingenuous or trying to be a trickster in some kind of way to fool people. So Angler, I hope that's fair enough of what I said of you there. I think you're doing your it's not obviously none of this is easy, and this isn't to brown nose for you or something like that. But we like to reward good behavior, right? Well, in my estimation, I would consider what Angler is doing there with this video good behavior, not just for himself, but setting an example and bringing up issues or bringing up questions of like, why on earth am I here? What the hell am I actually doing? What is it I want? Where am I going? They sound like simplistic questions, but I feel like not a lot of people want to ask them. They want to pussyfoot around it because they don't want to be honest enough and say what it is they truly want, which most cases seem to be, I want someone to look after me, and I expect you guys to do that for me. I expect you guys to be my self-esteem because I can't do it for myself. I need you to make me feel better. And that's why I'm unhappy with the manosphere, because it's trying to make me be something that I am not. And I can't do that. And I'm trying to manipulate all of you with my definitions so that you will do as I say, and I become the center of the so-called sphere. But obviously that's not going to happen. So I'm going to be in a passive aggressive way going to leave and say, screw you guys, and call you all femboys or something, or incels, to try and shame you when there's more at play. It's like, if you really wanted just to leave, you wouldn't need to be using such slurs or being insultive in such a way. You would just go. But I mean, Oki was doing this big time, where he's like, I'm better than all of you, I'm out of here. All right, if that's the case, Why do you keep talking to MGTOWs and trying to rope them back into an argument? So clearly, even though you're saying that you don't need us or you want us or you want to be around us or we're all scum, oh, we still play a part. We are the stepping stone for you to step upon. So this is passive aggressive and this is bitch fighting, if you ask me. This is when people talk about feminist behavior or something like that. This is what I would call feminist behavior. This kind of like, I'm gonna throw stones at you from a distance and pretend it's not me, and then I'm gonna say I'm better than all of you. But it's like, who's better than who, really? Because despite you leaving, it seems pretty evident that you depend on us. You know, we're your family. Now, some of the females, the charlatans that we've been encountering in these spaces are doing the same sort of thing, where they're like, oh, you guys are a bunch of idiots, but I'm gonna hang around with you anyway. Make that make sense. Who's the bigger fool here then? Who needs who, really? So we can tell, despite what they're saying, these spaces become like family or friends to these very injured and vulnerable people. They don't want to admit it. Where else are they going to go? They don't have any real friends in real life. They don't have any real family. We are it. But the trouble is that they can't control us and make us bend to their will. If anything, we're saying like, no, you need to be compliant here. You need to conform and be decent, have some morals and ethics. And this is where they get rubbed up, because it's like, oh no, I don't want to have the morals. I don't want the ethics. I just want to use you people to make me feel better. And we're like, well, that's not how it's going to work. We're not here to make you feel better. We can help you so that you can feel better about yourself, like through your own self-gratification and validation and things like that. You know, we can help you to build your self-esteem, but we're not going to build it for you. You know, get that out of your head. And so it's like, well, I can't do it, so I'm going to leave and I'll blame you. You all mean. You made me feel bad. And it's like, well, be a pussy then. I haven't actually addressed any of my notes written down here. I'm just waffling on. What's this? Smash the like or my isotope will become radioactive. Iridium out of here. Get him out of here. So I'm just scanning, just glossing over. Okay, cool. Everyone's still alive. Okay. All right. Now let me actually refer to some of my notes. So okay, so you're gonna witness my note taking, as it were. So my first note is: men join while the party is going, you know, while the brotherly love is going around. But when it's no longer providing what they want, then they say bye-bye. Some may say bye-bye because they don't like what they see, which I say is a pity, because you're letting others who are not genuine push you in directions you would otherwise not want to go. So yeah, that's coming back to that idea of, you know, like those who you associate, and they build your rapport and your reputation, and all of that will come into the sort of category of boundaries. So if there are poor boundaries, you can see this push and pull dynamic take place, and which will also lead to people being very impressionable. Now that would actually tie into that conspiracy conversation we'll have at a later date, this idea of poor boundaries. Now, get this. Who was talking about me being a narcissist? Was it you, Iridium? Now, You want to know what's a bit more scary? How many narcissists are in the manosphere? Right. So, what are some of the characteristics? What are some of the pastimes, the hobbies of a narcissist? Well, they like to break up groups. They like to cause disruption. Now, they like groups because it's like as I described, like a cafeteria of supply. But once they've found a group, in order to extract from that group, they have to disseminate it. They have to start slicing off limbs to be able to fit it on their barbecue. So they'll gravitate to a group and then they'll divide it. Now, what do we see when people start moaning about MGTOW? We start noticing a division, and a response to that is we'll start hearing comments about, well, can't we all be friends? Can't we stop the fighting and just get on with things? So that is a little signal that some kind of division is taking place. Now, who is orchestrating it? Well, we don't necessarily need to say or point fingers and blame. What matters is the idea of dividing, to break up these groups. So if you want to have that kind of conspiracy mind or whatever, I don't think it's a big secret or anything like that, but we should be aware that such men's spaces or safe havens will be targeted, if not by governments and by elites, it will be targeted from within to have it disrupted and divide. Because then when we have these cultists among us who want to take over with their dogma and doctrine, all the more easier. So when often you'll notice when people say, "If you guys, I'm out of here," there'll be a little caveat: who's with me? Who's gonna follow me in my exodus out of here? Is it because of who's gonna follow because of the principles and morals, or who's gonna follow me basically as a sucker that I know who is weak-minded and will be on my side, that I basically my harem, my little personal what do you call that, where you put your food, larder, my treasure chest of souls that I can consume and have better control over because there's less numbers of them. And there's going to be drawbacks to this, because once the poor victims have been depleted, then new souls are required. But that's off on a different tangent. So yeah, when they leave, they're very bitter. It's more than just they have a few criticisms that they don't like. It's not like, oh, this man, I got the wrong idea. Like, I thought this would be helping me to keep a relationship or something like that. So I think this isn't for me. No, I'm talking about the very bitter ones. It's like they feel they make sure you feel like you betrayed them. It's like, if you guys, you tricked me, you betrayed me, I can't trust you anymore. You lot are all scum and evil. So there's this real resentment and bitterness, and it's not whatever words are being said, you can pretty much guarantee that that's not the truth. What's really going on is they're butthurt. Well, that's not the best way of putting it. What's really going is that they weren't able to abuse you, and this is why they're upset and will claim that they're the victim. You guys took advantage of me. You ganged up on me. You ridiculed me. You harassed me. You doxed me or something. You guys abused me. I came here in good faith, and all of this is backwards. It's the projection. No, they didn't come here in good faith. They're the ones trying to abuse you, and they're blaming you for it, and they're hoping that you're going to accept it, or see, this is a separate one where setting up an arena a persecution arena where they will intentionally instigate a fight. Leaving isn't simple enough. They have to, and having a drama or a little tizzy, a drama, a diva, being a diva isn't enough. No, they need to actually engage in some sort of conflict. And why does that help? Because, I mean, they'll have some sort of pseudo reasoning behind it, but to have a fight with someone as your reason to want to leave sets up a better structure or narrative for this persecution complex. So let's say you guys were bullying me and I decided to leave. I could turn around and be like, well, I'm not the abuser. I'm not the bully. You guys are. You guys made me leave. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay because I'm noble and kind and I've got a good heart. No, you guys are the ones who are evil, and it should be you who is kicked out. But who am I to do that? So other people, if you're listening, get on my side and help me vanquish the so-called true enemy who are persecuting me. And in doing so, like if I keep my mouth shut afterwards, I'll look more and more like the victim, and then I'll gain the sympathy. And I think Angler, you were sucked into that little trap at one point. And people who with good heart and good intent will start defending the covert, sneaky son of a bitch, basically. The covert, sneaky manipulator who is a bit of a crafty mastermind in this, because they're not dumb. They know what they're doing, and they realize that this is a status of victimhood is powerful, and it requires not much effort or work. So, and it demands control of a situation, because all I would have to do, like hypothetically in this scenario that I'm developing here with you guys, if I'm the vulnerable, fragile, low self-esteem, dependent, but I need to have control of the situation. So I start calling myself a victim. I start labeling you as the aggressor, and you're doing all the work for me by getting pissed off with your reactive abuse. You are doing the work for me of portraying yourselves as bullies. You're out of control. I keep my mouth shut. I give a few sob stories. I tell people how, oh, I just mean well. I just want to help you guys. You see, I'm Mr. Good Guy, but I can't take it anymore. I have to go. I just can't take it. I'm going. And now it's like, oh, see what you guys did to Billy, you meanies. And then meanwhile, there's me thinking, ha, 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 ha. They're all talking about me. I'm on their mind. They're all waiting. They're all hoping I'm going to return. So you see how much of a, in terms of narcissistic fuel and supply, this is ecstasy. This is like, look at all this chaos I've created, all centered around me, and they're all holding on to whatever it is I'm going to decide to do. And if I don't come back, then I'm punishing them, and they're going to feel bad and sorry for me. Oh, you drove Billy out, and if I do come back, then you guys are going to have to be nicer to me. So you see how it's like a win-win situation for the victim. Meanwhile, the people who were triggered and reacted emotionally in this reactive abuse started calling me like, you effing go, get the fuck out of here, sort of thing. They're the ones who perhaps either saw what was happening to some degree, like this guy, like this Billy guy is a trickster, or don't trust him, or they were not going to sacrifice their integrity or something like that, So they're really they're the true victims in a way. They're the ones who are being used as a scapegoat in this whole situation, to further the gains and benefits of this person who decided to want to leave. And the thing is, have they actually left? No, because they're just hiding in the corner with their ear to the, they're observing from a distance. They want to know what's going on. So they haven't really left. This is what Oki was doing. He didn't really leave. He's still watching because he can't leave. He needs to have this connection. Where else is he going to get the fuel and supply from? So, they might try and pretend like, oh, I don't need you guys. It's like, well, translation is I need you guys. So carry your translators in your pockets, because just run it back in reverse and see which one sounds more true to you, and you'll get a clearer idea pretty quickly, quite fast, or what makes more logical sense. Ooh, wet the whistle. Right. Quick check on the notes. Reviving Real News is here. Chrome Dome Omega. Good to see you guys. Hope you're doing well. I hope what we're discussing is of use and isn't just like observations we've already made, because that would feel like a little bit of a waste of time. So let's see, where are I? There, the bit of what. So people who I feel that actually understand what the philosophy, what MGTOW, what Manosphere is about, at least to a degree where they understand the mechanics of it. They see that MGTOW is not meant to replace you as a man. You are meant to emerge out of the man is supposed to emerge out of the MGTOW. And so the man is above MGTOW, really. No philosophy is going to be above an actualized man. And in that way, you could argue that a true MGTOW is someone who it doesn't even occur to them, the acronym, because they're too busy being a MGTOW. It's a sort of oxymoron sort of thing. I like to make the joke where it's like, well, we have to conform to society. It's like we like to think we're red pill, but we're red pill in the blue pill world. You still have to know how to interact with the blue pill. Unfortunately, as much as you might not like it, and there's actually, to think, because people will say blue pill is like the emotional lens and red pill is the critical thinking lens. It's not quite true. There is a lot of blue pill within the red, as it were. But that's for another topic about my interpretation of the pill philosophy, which I've been putting on the back burner for a long time now. I'm sorry about that. But anyway, so the whole purpose and understanding of the philosophy is not to be greater than the man, although in some ways it is. It stands beside or separate to him. It's not the man himself. When I see and speak to each and every one of you, I don't say, oh, wait, there's MGTOW number 5 and there's MGTOW number 6. No, you have names. Like there's Frank, there's Tim, there's David, there's Chrome Dome, there's Iridium. I don't go, oh, these are just MGTOW dudes. No, you're people. You got lives. You got identities. I like to think. I hope. You got personalities. You got uniqueness. There can never be another Iridium Kush. There can never be another David Smith. There can never be another Frank. No other Bullets. There could never be another Tim. Not to blow my own trumpet. There'll never be another Billy. There'll never be another any one of us. We're all unique and individual, and in that sort of that gives us that speciality, even though no one's special. The life of contradictory hypocrisy. Isn't it wonderful? We're all gonna die. Isn't it great? Yeah. Anyway, so the ones who actually get it, what MGTOW is about, about maturing. It's about no longer living like a child and growing up. Time to grow up. you know, time to self-parent, time to be honest, time to stop it with this delusional magical thinking, these narratives we like to tell ourselves. Now, we can't ever escape them. We will always have narratives and we'll always have distortions. But the idea is with maturity, we're able to manage them more effectively and accurately. We don't let our imaginations, we don't get carried away with our imaginations. We try and keep it more grounded or anchored. So those who understand this sort of point about what MGTOW is about, and which is why that there is no MGTOW is not Eins Wein, follow it to the letter and all is good. You know, it's you need to understand the what is it trying to tell you? What is it trying to guide you? There is no direct set path. We are all on individual journeys in that sense, which is one of the wonderful things about MGTOW, because that means that it has that flexibility where it doesn't matter where you come from in life, you can find a way should you be determined to do so. Just because you might be born without like, let's say, wealth, doesn't mean you're not a man. Or just because you're born with in a certain country doesn't mean you're not a man. You can all be men. You can be all you can all discover your masculinity, because this is the thing. It's a journey. Where are we going? Where is MGTOW going? Going where? Well, it's going inwards to find yourself and who you are really, who you are supposed to be, who you could be if you didn't have all this buffoonery, nonsense, malarkey trying to pull you away from your purpose. So this is why this is the journey in my mind. This is my opinion. I'm sure many of you might agree or disagree. It's all right. But it's the journey of self-discovery, essentially. And when people say that they're a MGTOW, it's more so than just these three tenets that we're saying. What it is a declarative statement saying to the world, now never mind no marriage, no kids, and no cohabitation. It's a statement that says, no more abuse. No more of me tolerating your nonsense. No more of me compromising my integrity. Because you notice with these tenets, no cohabitation, no marriage, no kids, they're all external based. It's all pointing the finger at someone else. Now, I'm not saying that they need to be eradicated. They can still maintain. But if we have external based tenants, well, what would the internal based tenants be? Well, this is why I say I will no longer compromise my integrity. I will no longer keep my mouth shut when I know I need to speak up. Well, you could say, like, I will no longer silence myself. I will no longer willingly be self-deluded and lie to myself and live in a perpetual state of denial. I will no longer be naive and play dumb. So there could be quite a few here. We can flesh them out together if you want. But I would hold those as stronger tenets, really. Because when you have tenets like that, you won't even need tenets like no cohabitation, no marriage, no kids, because you're not even at that juncture in time or space. If you're starting off with a point of view which is like, I'm not going to tolerate any more bullshit or abuse or being taken apart or exploited or tormented, tortured, then straight away, right, that's no cohabitation and marriage out of the window. We don't even need to bring them up. And it encompasses a lot more other things. It means I have more self-respect and I value who I am, and I'm not going to give away my love so carelessly, and that's a response. That's my fault for doing so, because that's how little of realization I had for myself. I didn't realize I was doing that. So I'm going to be a better guardian and keeper of myself. I'm going to self-parent. I'm not going to rely on other people to be looking after me. I'm going to do that for myself. So that's like independence. instead of codependence. And so when these people get to this graduation of maturity and enlightenment and spirituality, and however else you want to say it, in their older years, quite typically, then that's probably a good time. It's like, I don't really need the nursery clinic of the manosphere anymore. I'm a man now. Now, maybe I might still hang around, but not as a inpatient, but more as a teacher at this point, or as a mentor or something. I like to think I stand outside the fishbowl and I'm looking in, and I find it curious. I'm intrigued by human behavior, and so that's why I hang around. And this, in part, is why I think I'll probably be around indefinitely. You know, not saying I'm not going to learn anything from anyone else, but anyway, getting sidetracked, I think. So for these people who get the point and they move on, you know, what it means is that they never saw people or the philosophy as something they could own. Like, they don't, and this is what the toxic people don't understand, or the abusive people don't understand. They try to own it all. They want to own you, me, everyone, the community, and the philosophy. And with ownership, they become bigger than. And with that ownership also comes in the necessity of having control. So that will be a red flag. Will be like, how much control is this person trying to establish by, maybe they're not leaving the manosphere space, but whatever behaviors they're doing, where is this control element? Where do they go around? Where do they get off with this idea that they own the philosophy, or they own the community or people? Where is their self-ownership in all of this? And how much of that are they trying to pass off onto others? So instead of, when we say self-ownership, that means being responsible for yourself. But if they're not being responsible for themselves, they're passing that onto you so that you become responsible for them. So in a way, they don't want to acknowledge it, but you become their keeper. You're the one that owns them, you know? There they are trying to say how much they're independent and all this, when really it's like, no, it's all backwards, it's all compensatory. Really, they're heavily dependent. You're the one who has more resolve about you. You're having to look after them. You're the one that makes them feel better, you know? You could leave and it probably wouldn't be a problem. If they leave, well, you bet you there'll be a problem. So it's like, who needs who, really? Who owns who? And obviously the person who has good intention doesn't mean they don't want to own other people or be their keeper, but they've been forced into this role by the abusive person. It's like, no, I'm going to make you are going to be my daddy. You're going to look after me. You're going to give me a house and board and food, and you're going to take me out places. You know, it's like, God damn it. I didn't ask for any of this. Right. Okay, I made a point. So this is what ends up causing this huge drama about defining and definitions. It's like, oh, you can't tell me what this is and what that is. It's like, fine, have it your way if you want. You do you, boo. So another sort of smoky mirror kind of comment will be this idea that, well, I'm here to self-improve and this is what it's supposed to be about, and there's a lot of toxicity here, so I'm not really self-improving. But you'll somewhere amongst those words will be this, but let me tell you what to do. And there you've got the control coming in. So these aren't really suggestions. It's not like, here's an idea for you to consider. Here's some advice for you to ponder about. Up to you, you know, you decide. Instead, it's more like a demand. You know, like, you're not a MGTOW. Why? Because I'm dictating to you why you're not. It's like, fine. Should I be bothered by that too much? If that's the way you want to be about it? Well, yeah, I demand that you get upset with what I'm telling you. You should be infuriated. Why? Because then you're playing by my rules. It's like, So if I tell you that I don't care, is this why you're getting so angry and upset with me? Because you want me to care about what you think? So, yeah, how these mind games, these mental gymnastics, this is why it's like, as much as deep diving as interesting and sometimes fun as it can be, the other kind of fun part is when you just turn around and be like, see how it's just a load of bollocks at the end of the day. Just the simplicity of just eradicating all of what we just said and surmising it as simple as like, yeah, you don't really need to worry about any of that, just as long as you don't fall for the trap, drink the Kool-Aid, there's nothing they can do. They're up shit's creek, and they know it deep down. They know it. Hold on, give me a second here. And that's why there's a bit of like a desperation in the air as well. This stressor, like this emotionally heightened urgency. Yet another clue to be watching out for, gentlemen. If you sense any of this stuff, this urgency that this is important for some fucking reason, it's like them guys were mean. They called me I don't know. They called me an incel. It's like, yeah, and so what? Whoa, wah. It's like, fucking hell. Why are we making such a big deal out of it? I'll call you an asshole in a minute if you want. Will that make you feel better? What do you want? Just so, yeah. And obviously, to prevent you realizing any of this will be to keep you in this state of urgency, this impulsivity. Like, you haven't got time to even contemplate or think. It's like, no, Billy, don't even think about it. You need to attack him in retaliation without thinking. Just do it. Do it right now. So if we can slow it sounds a bit cheesy, but if we could slow ourselves down, breathe deeper, breathe a little, and not be so impulsive, you'll probably come to a realization or conclusion or whatever decision that, yeah, not everything requires a response. Like, how much of this do you actually owe the other person? Do I owe you an explanation? Like, I told you what I think. It's not really something I wasn't asking you for your opinion. I'm just stating what the facts are or something like that. So it's not really a debate. So I don't really owe you anything, but somehow you're making me feel obliged to interact and explain myself. Why should I need to explain myself? You want me to get defensive? Why? So that I can trip up over my own words and make myself look like a boob, and then you can say, aha, I gotcha. And because I gotcha, that means everything else you've been saying is void, is irrelevant. So no. What's the expression? Go fish. Oh. I think because I'm not moving my arm at all, it's kind of like getting a bit paralyzed on me. All right. So many unhealthy and unhealed people trying to establish dominance. So it becomes a case of the blind leading the blind. And that's something we need to bear in mind when we talk about spaces like this, is there is no grand master sage or whatever that's going to guide everyone. We're being led around by the majority of people who are in the recovery process. Think about it. Think about, I don't know, like AA groups or whatever kind of groups. And if they were being run by the members within those communities, how well would that work? It's not. And in part, we have a large, especially when you've got newcomers, young newcomer hotshots who want to establish their dominance. So they're going to tell you, like, you old people don't know it. You think you know too much or whatever. Us young'uns, we're the future. So we're going to take it how we want it. And it's like, big mistake. So we shouldn't be surprised that these spaces become, as more and more members come into them from more and more diverse backgrounds, all wanting to have their say, all wanting to assert their egos, that it creates even more confusion for the people with good intent. And I saw that happening quite a lot in the narcissistic survivor community, where you would have people who had high empathetic traits, right? They're pretty much what you would call an empath, but they wouldn't be going around calling themselves an empath, but they're very empathetic. They've got high levels of care and compassion. They've got good hearts, charitable, in a good way. They're not like ramming it down your throat or in your face, trying to virtue signal. They actually are caring and compassionate type people. But they're mixing in with the narcissistic empaths who are going around beating people around the head as if they are the angels and the narcissists are the devils, and nothing can stop them but us empaths. And it's kind of like, whoa, this is not, I mean, it's above and beyond. So when you're trying to address a community, especially if you're trying to do it in a generalized way, I mean, how do you talk to people like that as well as people who are good intended? You can't really do it. So you end up having to talk in a way that encompasses the toxic people and treats them as though they are with good intent, which is wrong. It shouldn't really be like that. So that unfortunately happens in this community as well, where what it will come down to is a misinterpretation starts to take place. So when someone says like, well, it's a journey of finding yourself, and they take that to be, well, I've been jerking off every day, I haven't found anything yet. Like, no, that's not what I meant. When I said finding yourself, it wasn't saying about making yourself blind. No, well, that's what you said, wasn't it? Like, you're not fucking listening. When we say no women, we don't literally mean no women. Like, how retarded are you? Like, and this is the they try to reduce deep philosophical points and make it so literal. And that's another article, little sort of segment I've got, where it's like, don't take MGTOW so literally. I mean, a nincompoop is going to do that. That's someone who, when you say no kids, but when I look at how many MGTOWs have children, how does that make sense? You're all hypocrites. It's like, no, we mean don't make new kids. You can still make kids if you want, and you can still cohabitate and get married if you want, but don't come crying to us if you find out that it backfired on you or something like that, after everyone's been warning you and trying to help you out. But I hope anyway. Yeah, so these spaces aren't really they're free flowing. We're flying by the seats of our pants, and if we can just keep that in mind, that may help to reduce the severity of when someone wants to be a dictator, because really it means therefore that they don't really know any better than you do. They're just trying to win you over, not with their arguments, but with their conviction and their passion. It's like, if I shout at you, that somehow makes me feel like I'm winning my point. It's like, no, it's not. Just because you're shouting doesn't mean your point is any more valid. In fact, it makes it harder for me to listen to you. So yeah, okay. So if I can't be like you men or people who are trying to be men, and you people won't want to reduce yourselves to my petty ways, then I'm going to take my ball and I'm out of here. Blah. You know. So the petulance, the childishness, comes through with certain people who are leaving the spaces, and that brings it back to this idea of a level of maturity. Obviously, these kids, these petulant children, don't want to have to maturize, and they're hoping that you're going to regress and become a child and play with them with their ball. But we can't have it both ways. I mean, even if you wanted to play ball with them, you've been doing that your whole, well, up until this point. So you already know the outcome of that. It ended up in failure and a lot of pain and misery. So we know that playing ball with a kid who, or being with someone who wants to mentally be like a kid and not mature, who wants to be blue pilled, who enjoys these manipulations. I mean, this is why they're manipulating in the first place as well. Isn't for you. You're trying to get away from that. So no way are you going to be like them. It's basically, this isn't going to be some negotiation. This is basically you're going to have to man up, or you're going to have to mature, and it's like it or lump it, or get the hell out of here. We're not going to. We're trying to get away from that, and you're trying to keep us there. So no dice. Now they'll say they'll leave, but they're going to lurk. I'm sure we're all ninja watching, that kind of thing, and they're hoping to find an angle they can swoop back in with later on. And even if they can't, they got that kind of ace up their sleeve where they could be like, "This is an act of moral superiority. I am better than those man boys or the manosphere because I have left. See how much more manly I am compared to them. I'm on my own, and they're having to have these live streams and whatnot. So, but really, that's just like a shaming tactic. It's the smear campaign, and it's going to be behind closed doors with people that will believe that can be conned by this con artist. So, for everyone else's point of view, it's nothing for us to worry about. I mean, this is it's beyond our control, and anyway, so let them think what they want. This is a damage control on the toxic person, because this is the kind of shit they have to get up to, and it's constant and exhausting, taxing. I mean, rather them than me have to worry about that. But I mean, that's the way you want to go live your life, and you want to pretend to yourself that you're a man or something like that. Fine, if it helps you, well, good on you. You know, the rest of us want to actually like seriously knuckle down and get on with it. We're getting old, you know, got a bloody hurting shoulder. I haven't got the energy for these city games. Now, sometimes these spaces, it's not about finding places that suit you, you know, your cup of tea or whatever. Because especially if you're coming from an angle of like, hey, I wonder, there are things about me that have got me in trouble. I don't really like. I'm not fully aware that I have it. I'm sure they're there. So I need a bit of education. I need some mentoring. I need to be around other men that I can aspire to. I need some inspiration. I need some role models. So you come to this sort of space in want of a change. Otherwise, if you're happy the way you were before, why would you be here? So you've come here looking for a change. And I'm saying, like, usually it's so that you can mature. And that means, what happens when there's a change? It means you have to become uncomfortable, and you need to be okay with that. So it's like the bitter red pill in a way. It doesn't mean you have to pledge your allegiance, take an oath of honor or something like that, or be like a sheeple and fall in line with whatever rhetoric or dogma or whatever's being said. It just means that you're willing to see things from other people's perspectives, to get a broader awareness, a broader lens to maybe cover some of these blind spots and biases that you may be having. Now, how comfortable that is for certain people is the sort of question: how much are they willing to allow themselves to be vulnerable so that they can address the issues? If you've got someone who is very narcissistic, and I suspect a lot of these toxic people may be, you look at a conditioning or a disorder that is very rigid, which is vulnerable and fragile. So the idea that they're going to be willing to be uncomfortable with things that bring about a change, wow, no way, no effing way. So a narcissist isn't going to want it. They're not there for the reasons. They're not there for this. For what the community is built for. Look, it's built for change. It's built for you to be uncomfortable in a safe environment and to be vulnerable in a safe environment. All of that is not what a narcissist wants. They don't want to change. They don't want to be uncomfortable, and they don't want to be vulnerable. They're there basically to predate. And when it's not going their way, well, then they're going to exit. So at least in some ways, this whole departure in topic, like should I stay or should I go, helps to filter out the people who are illegitimately here. Now, obviously, like I said at the beginning, like there are pragmatic reasons why people might go, and there's also the benefit of taking a break so that it doesn't overtake your life and become your life. It doesn't become your coffin. But I'm more addressing the tricksters, the dupers amongst who are trying to weaponize this idea of departing as a form of passive aggression or form of control. Okay. How is everyone in the comments? Still alive? Good, good, good. All right. Now, yet another thing to a little bit of a consideration. So when they say, when people, I think it's pretty, if we're honest with each other, I'm pretty sure everyone's thought about it now and again, like, man, do I really need this community? Can I not bother? What would happen, sort of thing. And it's a healthy thought exercise. Nothing wrong with that. So this is kind of like a self-reflection, like a choice. And I think something that might get overlooked is the timing. When does this choice, or when does this thinking process happen? Because depending on the timing, we can identify whether or not this decision that's being made is one of maturity or one based in emotional thinking. And if it's something based in maturity, like what Angler was saying in his video, I believe there might be an element where it kind of overlaps, but I like to think at least he's showing signs of maturity, growing. Then it's like puberty in a way. It's like the timing of puberty comes along. You are transitioning. You are going from boy to man. So we see there's a timing is a window of time. Or if it's someone who's more toxic, who isn't going to be looking at maturing, they'll be more emotionally driven, then you'll see that connection where the decision making tied in with their emotions is what is spurring this event, the timing of this event from taking place. So you can see like why is it out of the blue? It would seem that now suddenly, like what the hell? Why are you leaving? I didn't see there was a problem. I didn't see any signs. It's like, well, the signs were there. The signs were that they weren't getting any attention. They weren't getting their way. They weren't for everyone else. We were cool just hanging out, coasting along or whatever it is we're doing. No big dramas, no kerfuffle. That's fine. That doesn't sit well with someone who is toxically minded, though. And that produces the emotional spark to now be like, right, I need to cause drama. Things are too settled. Things are too stable. I need to cause disruption. So off I go, everyone. I'm going to throw a tizzy, make up some allegation if need be, or whatever, skew perception if I need to, have the communication breakdown, whatever excuse, doesn't really matter. What matters is that I disrupt the stability and the harmony and the peace of other people, because that's going to make me feel better. So you'll see quite often that these moments when people decide to bail out will be at times of peace, when things are stable and going well. The demons inside can be heard a lot louder. So it makes them they unrest, and the necessity of causing chaos becomes more pertinent to these people. Not always a guarantee it will happen like that. I'm just saying that this, if it springs out of the blue and things for a while seem to be okay, and you can't really think of a reason why suddenly now there's drama, well, there you go. That could be one of the reasons. It could be because of things are peaceful. It's like it's too quiet. The mind of the paranoid. I don't feel safe. Things are too quiet. It's like, well, we the rest of us people like it, And another reason why, even though they might leave, they won't be gone for long, because if they're going to be so closed off to a community in such a way, their brothers, their so-called brothers, they're going to be closed off and not allow themselves to be vulnerable or openly honest with their vulnerability. They might give you some other kind of vulnerabilities to try and red herring to keep you off the scent, but they're going to be deceitful, and they're closed off because they're in that protective shell of their narcissism. Then if they were to go out be jettisoned out into the wide world, I mean, that will be even more horrific for them. How is that going to work with a mindset like that of being closed off? How will that work in the wider world? It's not. So, I mean, but obviously that's their problem. It's not your problem to have to deal with what they're going through. And just letting you know the what could later on become a catalyst for certain behaviors. Now, and they're also making a big statement when they leave, by the way, is like, haven't you learned anything during your time here in the manosphere? It seems like you're going to throw everything away on a whim because boo-hoo, someone called you a hippie or something, or someone said, whatever. Can't think of a witty, funny little insult, but you're going to get in a tizzy and leave over something so small. What happened to the philosophy being the way of life? If this is the case, if this is true, then how are you're not really escaping as much as you might want to escape the manosphere. According to your logic, it's something that you can't really disconnect from. It's going to follow you around or something like this, because what other philosophy are you going to be following or believing? Are you going to be creating your own? I just I'm just a rebel, complete absolute like outcast or something like that. I am the no man or something, you know. And where's that going to get you? So quite often, so if we're looking at this, it becomes a debate of like maturation almost. What will happen if you go out into the big wide world thinking that you're a big boy now with your big boy pants when really you're not? You're gonna land flat on your ass. So these are some of the issues anyway. This idea of like, so when are we ready? So toxic people aside, now we hopefully by now we realize that, like, yeah, they've got a whole set of other issues to be dealing with before they even come to the set of issues of actualization and maturity and masculinity. I mean, that's like advanced class at this point. I don't know, but that's a secondary problem to their primary issue of feeling better about themselves and having some self-control and addressing their abusive tendencies. But yeah, so that aside, so to be of more benefit to the guys listening and the community at large, I truly do see it in a nursery type of clinical sort of setting environment, which is meant to give you some safety and protection while you learn to self-discover and get in touch with that inner self that didn't get the chance to really shine before, or to get established well enough before, that had become injured in the process, etc. And if you are in a legitimate, authentic way, saying, okay, fellas, I've enjoyed my time with all of you. It's been wonderful to know you all. You will always be my brothers. I hope to one day meet you in person. I might come back and check in just to see how things are going, but for all intents purposes, I am officially saying I'm going to leave the manosphere. I mean, all right. So, hey, you guys know me personally, right? Hand on heart or whatever. I hope to one day meet a woman. I hope to give my kid a new mum. Which would mean I would be technically like. I mean, I never really considered myself technically a MGTOW anyway, but I, for all intents purposes, I consider myself to be one. I'll stand with you, brothers, and I agree with the arguments you put forward. I might think they're a bit heavy-handed, but I understand why they need to be like that. Better safe than sorry, kind of principle. But the point I'm making is that, if any one of you were had that moment in their lives where they, just like as a kid is going through puberty and says to me, "Hey dad, I want to move out. Hey dad, I want to get a car. Hey dad, I'm gonna live my life. Bye bye, dad." Same kind of thing. You'd be happy for your children, wouldn't you? Like, one day my little girl's gonna grow up. Now the autism thing plays a factor in it, but let's pretend she wasn't autistic for now. If when she grows up and she's like, "Dad, I've met a man, we're gonna move out," obviously I'm gonna have the kind of daddy protection, like, well, he better be a good guy sort of thing. But let's say everything is all wunderbar, then we're like, "Oh, there's my little girl. She's actually a woman now. She's a mother. I'm a granddad. Hey, this is a good thing, right?" So I'd be happy for her, and I'll be happy for her and her new family, and I'll have peace when I die, knowing that my kid is living her own life. There was a point I saw someone ask a question on someone else's stream. It was from a woman. I can't remember which woman it was, but she was asking a question which was something like, "Would you want your kid to miss you when you die?" And I can't remember what the other person answered, but it made me think, what answer would I give? And I decided, no, I wouldn't want my kid to miss me when I die, because if my teachings are within her, like if she carries my teachings inside her and it helps guide her in life, then I'm never far away. If ever she felt sad or lonely, all she would need to remember is like to, how can I articulate this? How, as long as she was staying true to herself, she'll always have me in spirit with her. So there would be no need for her to miss me. Now, obviously, she's gonna probably still miss, like we miss her mum, sort of thing. You know, we all like the physicality or whatever it is. But when you're in the emotional language and landscape and lens, etc., like I'm sure she'll feel sad. I'm sure she'll feel lonely and miss me once I'm gone and dead. But she can also be reassured, or she can assure herself that maybe it's a genetic thing, like my genes are inside her, kind of thing. But the spirit of her, I mean, in part, this is why I do my YouTube channel and the work I do with these discussions and writing things out. A lot of this is in real time self-reflection. This is me also trying to work out how I see the world, how I see people, how I see society, how I see myself, how I see philosophies, etc., and going through the thinking processes. And so, if my kid were to read my articles or whatever, she will be evoking the spirit of her father every time she does so. So, you know, I don't want to torment her and be a ghost and be like, I demand you miss me. I mean, I don't want, I'll feel so guilt. I mean, I'll be dead. I don't want to feel anything. But I mean, theoretically, I'd be guilt ridden. You know, I don't want to make her upset like that. So I wanted to have her in life, celebrate, if anything, rather than mourn. Not sure how that ties into our topic this evening, but you can find a way. Grieving and being reborn, I suppose. Acceptance and letting go. So I think I pretty much said what I wanted to say about the matter. I'm sure there's a lot more intricacies. I've been jabbering up like a lunatic. So oh guys. Oh, okay, I see there's a bit of a right. All right. So let's call it a night here then. And hope this gave some things to look out for. Next time you hear someone talking about leaving and taking some time away, don't jump to the conclusion that they're going to be like, this is someone who's trying to manipulate. I mean, there might be legit reasons. It might all be it might be good timing. You know, I mean, even you might be be like, yeah, I think you've been working hard. You know, like anyone who has a job, you've been working hard. You need a vacation. Go enjoy yourself. We'll still be here when you come back. Don't worry. And fingers crossed you won't come back. You know, you found a healthy woman, and she treats you with kindness and respect. You found her a unicorn, and you lived out the rest of your days thinking you're the one in a million. You know, you're the jackpot winner. You know, I hope it is you. Has to be someone. Why not you? So we can be happy for you. But should it not be the case? Should it be the case that you're dealing with someone who is up to something more devious, then hopefully some of the things we covered here tonight will make you understand, now I understand why they're really trying to get under my skin, or why they're being with the throwing quick daggers at me, or the ad hominems, and the insults, why they're so vicious or out of context, or things that kind of make you perplexed. Because this perplexion, whenever there's something like what's going on, like intuition says something, like I got a gut feeling, but I can't put my finger on it. Well, you're right. There is something. 9 times out of 10, there is something there. It's just you're not too sure what it is. And I hope some of what I explain can provide coverage for that. There might be things that aren't covered, so bear that in mind also. And as a general guide, is don't be so quick to jump to conclusions either, just in case you might be wrong. Let it, go at your pace. Take your time if need be. You don't have to, especially if they're like barking at you like a rock fighter. Like you could chill the fuck out. I ain't gonna. I'll get to you in my own good time. We're not going by your calendar. We're going by my calendar. So you can set the pace usually, and don't let things like fear. Oh, they threw a lawsuit in my direction. Oh no, I better retract. If those of you who know what I went through recently, it's like that ain't gonna happen. I dare you to take me to court. You're gonna pay my expenses for a start, and 2, you're gonna get yourself in prison. You're gonna get yourself in trouble. You're gonna hope, if anything, we don't go to court. That's kind of the funny thing. Is like, for someone who's afraid of court, why would they throw it at you? But I see the backward psychology of it. So don't let that kind of stunt these cocky little kids and their stunts. You show them what for. Maybe it's a bit easier being an actual dad parent, where it's like, I know what you're up to. You ain't fooling me. No McDonald's for you tonight. Carry on like this. It's not going to be any McDonald's until next year. Now clean up your room. Dad, you're bullying me. Oh yeah, you want me to bully you? All right, I'll show you bullying. All right. Anyway, so everyone, have a good evening. Have a good weekend. And I'll see you when I see you.